So let's discuss some details, just some hints and things which can be very convenient. A few shortcuts. So to commit all modified files, you can just use the -a flag with git commit, and that saves you the trouble of first staging the files, because that will be done by the commit command automatically. Of course, if a file is untracked, it is not going to be staged, that's for sure. So only files that are already under control of Git will be staged if they're modified. Typically you create a new branch and you immediately want to switch to it. So basically switching branches you do with the git checkout command, and if you add the -b flag, then it will first create a new branch and then switch to it by checking it out immediately. Switching back to a previous branch is very easy. You just do git checkout dash. So very similar to how you switch directories under Linux. And basically this is a very nice shortcut for switching back and forth between two branches. So I already mentioned stashing. So the problem is a branch contains modified tracked files and you don't want to commit them yet because you're not done, and you cannot check out another branch. Not even just to quickly view something in it, it's just not possible. Git is not going to let you do it because it would imply overwriting some of those modified tracked files. That means loss of information, and Git is going out of its way to avoid you losing information. So what can you do? Well, basically you can stash. Stashing changes in my original branch. Sorry for the stupid branch name. You just do git stash, and all the changes which you made to tracked files are scrolled away somewhere, and your branch is in a clean state. Then you can simply check out the other branch, some other branch, which is again a very stupid name. Do whatever you want there, and then when you're done and ready to resume your work, you basically just check out the original branch again, and you git stash pop. So basically you unstash the changes which were scrolled away, and basically your working directory will again be in its original state, so with modified tracked files. So some things to check in the history to more easily view history. One of the nice commands is git blame, and you do that on a file, and then you will see the commit for each line of a file. So basically it's a very good way of figuring out who made a certain change, because the blame will actually be on the person for a particular line. So there's also git praise, which is a more politically correct of the correct version of the same command. Another thing that you might do is to search a certain revision, a certain commit that introduced a certain line. And this you can do with the -S for search option, and you just, in this case, give a certain line fragment that is clearly a C or C++ function declaration. And basically the commit in which that line was introduced will in fact be displayed by git log. Other things for displaying log messages, you can just say, okay, I want messages, commits after 2019 15th of August, or before a certain date, and you can even specify a time rather than only the date. And you can also search for specific authors, like for instance, in this case, that would be my GitHub and GitLab handle. So those can be combined. So git log allows you to do very specific searches, and it's a very powerful tool in order to figure out what changed and why it's changed. You can create archives, which is quite convenient. If you, for instance, do a release, then you might want to create an archive. And so basically the git archive with a branch name will actually produce that. The archive file by default is a tar file, so that's why it's piped through gzip, and send to a tar.gz file. So basically, if you want to export to zip, no problem. You can just specify the -- format as zip option, and then it's a zip file, which might be more convenient in a Windows environment or whatever. And on GitHub or GitLab, you can create releases, which is the official way of doing things, and which makes life much more easy, in the sense that you immediately see and get a list of your releases. So sometimes you are looking for a change that introduced a problem, and if you can write a test that succeeds if the code is fine, and that fails if the code was messed up, then actually you can automatically and systematically search through the history by using the git bisect command. And basically it will do a bisection search, so it will kind of check out automatically the release which is in the middle, and then it will see whether either the bug is present or not, and it will just go to the half of the commits that in which the problem must occur, and basically it narrows down in log2 fashion in the number of commits to the point where the actual problem was introduced. So this can be really, really very powerful and very helpful, but you need proper testing. So that again is one of the reasons why you need code that can be tested automatically. It's also possible to micromanage commits. So basically you can pick, and the command for that is git add -p. Then you get an interactive way of picking which changes to a file will be staged for the next commit. So you can add certain changes to a file and not others. So basically, to get your commit messages consistent and your commits consistent, this is a very powerful tool. However, don't really overuse it, because typically it takes a lot of time and is perhaps not worth the effort. Another thing you might want to do is to cherry pick. That means merge in a single commit into a certain branch, and so basically the cherry pick command will do that for you, and you just specify the commit. So that will merge in a single commit. You can also add descriptions to branches, which can be kind of convenient, but basically the problem with that is that it is local. So it's not something that happens on GitLab. Even if you push, that information is never transferred to the remote. So it's of limited utility only, unfortunately.